Students, welcome to our channel Creative Minds. In this lecture, we are going to cover some major concepts of quantum mechanics, including Bohr atomic model, wave-particle duality, and the uncertainty principle. Let us start our lecture with Bohr's atomic model. According to explain his model, Bohr proposed some postulates. According to Bohr, an electron is revolving around the nucleus in the circular orbit and has definite amount of energy and fixed distance from the nucleus. An electron's angular momentum in an orbit is quantized, which is integral multiple of Planck's constant divided by 2 pi and given by an equation mvr equals to nh by 2 pi. The electron cannot radiate energy as it is in the specific orbit. It can only radiate energy when it jumps from the one energy level to another energy level. In each of the orbits, the energy of electron is same. An electron can move from one energy orbit to another energy orbit when supplied with some energy. By absorbing a quantum or photon, it jumps from one energy level to the other energy level. The electron, which is in the orbit very close to the nucleus, then it is said to be in a ground state, and by absorbing a photon, it jumps from that energy level to a higher energy level, and here it is said to be in excited state, and the difference in energy between the two energy levels is given as delta E equals to E high minus E low, and is equals to h mu, which is equal to energy of photon. In order to calculate the radius of the orbit, consider that an electron is revolving around the nucleus, which has and the radius of the orbit is given by r, and the charge on the nucleus is Ze, where Z is atomic number and E is the charge of an electron, and v is the velocity of the electron. The electrostatic force of the attraction between the nucleus and the electron, which is Coulomb's force, is given by E square over 4 pi epsilon naught r square. Here epsilon naught is the permittivity of free space and has value of 8.854 into 10 raised to the power minus 12 Coulomb square per Newton per meter square. Here 4 pi epsilon naught value is this term is the result of the SI units, and the centrifugal force is given by MeV square over R. Bohr proposed that in order to keep the electron moving in an orbit, these two opposing forces must balance each other. So the equation becomes E square over 4 pi epsilon naught R square equals to MeV square by R. According to one of the postulates of Bohr theory, the angular momentum of the electron must be quantized. Angular momentum L is equal to MeV or equals to NH bar. Here H bar is often used in quantum mechanics and is equal to H by 2 pi and can have any value from 1 to up to infinity. Solving this equation for V and substituting this value of V in the first equation of the equation of the two opposing forces, Coulomb force and centrifugal force, we get the equation for the radius equals to 4 pi epsilon naught h bar square n square over me e square. So by substituting the values in this equation, for the n equals to 1, Bohr's first orbit, the value comes out to be 0.529 angstrom, and this is the value for the radius of the first Bohr orbit, denoted by a0. For calculating the energy of the electron in an orbit, let us consider hydrogen atom. The energy of the electron is the sum of kinetic energy and potential energy. The potential energy of an electron and proton separated by a distance r is given by Vr equals to minus E square over 4 pi epsilon naught r. The total energy, which is the sum of kinetic energy and potential energy in the hydrogen atom, is equal to E equals to 1 by 2 MeV square minus E square over 4 pi epsilon naught r. In order to make these terms same, we will eliminate the term MeV square and will substitute its value by getting it from the first equation of the two opposing forces. Let us substitute it in this equation, and the total energy comes up to be minus E square over 8 pi epsilon naught r. The only allowed values of r are those which are given in the radius equation. So by substituting in energy equation, the load energies are given by the formula En equals to me4 over 8 epsilon naught square h square into 1 by n square. Here n is equal to 1 to up to infinity. The negative sign here indicates that these energy states are bound states. For n equals to 1, which is the energy of the electron in the lowest energy orbit and is said to be a ground state, and the states of the higher energy are called the excited states, which are generally unstable state with respect to the ground states. In an atom or molecule are found to be in the ground states in general, and they come back from the excited state to the ground states and give off energy in the form of electromagnetic radiation. Bohr assumed that the observed emission spectrum of the hydrogen atom was due to the transition from one allowed energy state to another, and so the Bohr frequency condition was given by the equation delta E equals to me4 over 8 epsilon naught square h square into 1 by n1 square minus 1 by n2 square, which is equals to the energy of photon. Here n2 is always greater than n1, and delta E equals to h nu is called the Bohr frequency condition, and which is the basic assumption that as the electron falls from one energy level to another, the energy is evolved in the form of the photon of energy equals to h nu. Now we will cover the concept called wave-particle duality. Scientists have always had tried to describing the nature of the light. In many experiments, light shows the definite wave-like character, but in many others, light seems to behave as stream of photons. The dispersion of the white light into the spectrum by a prism is an example of wave-like character of light, while photoelectric effect is an example of particle-like character of the light. Because light appears in some instance wave-like and in other particle-like, this disparity is usually termed as wave-particle duality of light. In 1924, Louis de Broglie proposed that if the light displays wave-particle duality, then matter, which also appear as particle-like, should have wave-like properties. So he put forward his idea into a quantitative scheme and gave an equation where lambda is equal to h by p. He argued that both the light and the matter obey this equation because the momentum of a particle is given by mv, where this equation predicts that the particle of mass m moving with a velocity v will have a de Broglie wavelength where lambda is equals to h by mv. So what was the physical significance of this wave-particle duality concept? Actually, this concept led to the practical application of electron microscopy, and it is also the key step in understanding the atomic structure. The Broglie equation can be used to give a simple physical argument for the quantized Bohr orbits. As the electron revolves around the proton, it has some wavelength associated with it. For the orbit to be in stable condition, it is assumed that it must match or should be in phase as the electron makes a complete revolution around the orbit. Otherwise, there will be cancellation of some amplitude and upon each revolution, and the wave will get disappear. Figure here shows the matching and mismatching of the de Broglie waves traveling in the Bohr orbit. If the wavelength of the de Broglie waves are such that an integral number of them fit around the circle of the orbit, then they complete a revolution, as you can see it in A. If the wave does not match after a complete revolution, then cancellation will take place. Slightly more than one revolutions are here shown in C, and you can see the sum of these amplitudes in D, and the wave progressively disappear. For the wave pattern around the orbit to be stable, we led to the condition that an integral number of the complete wavelength must fit around the circumference of the orbit, and the circumference of the circle is given by 2 pi r equals to n lambda, where n can have any value ranging from 1 to infinity. Substituting de Broglie equation lambda is equal to h by p in 2 pi r equals to n lambda, we get the Bohr quantization condition where mbr is equal to nh bar. One of the most important consequences of dual nature of the matter is the uncertainty principle developed by Werner Heisenberg in 1927. The Heisenberg uncertainty principle states that the position and the momentum of the particle cannot be specified simultaneously with unlimited precision. Heisenberg was able to show that if delta p is the uncertainty in the momentum of the electron, then the product of uncertainty in the position and momentum is given by delta x into delta p is greater than or equal to h. We can rewrite it in terms of h bar by substituting the value of delta p equals to m delta v, as delta x into m delta v is greater than or equals to h by 2 pi. The uncertainty product is negligible for the large objects. Now, in order to find out what is the physical concept of uncertainty principle, let us take some examples. Let us take an example of a moving ball of iron weighing 500 gram. The uncertainty expression assumes the form of delta x into delta v greater than or equals to h by 2 pi m. By substituting the values of h and pi and m in this equation, we get the value 5 into 10 raised to the power of minus 31 erg second per gram, which is very small value and is thus negligible. So as we have already discussed that for the large objects the uncertainty product is practically nil. But for an electron of the mass 9.1 into 10 raised to the power minus 28 gram, the product of the uncertainty principle is quite very large and has a value of 0.3 erg second per gram. So this value is very large enough in comparison with the size of the electron and is thus it is considered not negligible. If we want to measure the position of the electron within a distance delta x, then we must be using a device that has a spatial resolution less than delta x. One way to achieve this resolution is the use of the light that has the wavelength of the order of the delta x. For electron to be seen, the photon must strike the electron in some way, otherwise the photon will just pass away and the electron will appear transparent. We know that the photon has a momentum by the equation p equals to h by lambda, and during the collision the photon transfers its some of the momentum to the electron. The act of locating the electron generally leads to the uncertainty in the momentum. If we wish to locate the electron more accurately, we must be using a light that has a very shorter wavelength. As we know that the photons in the light beam has very greater momentum because of its greater wavelength, so some of the photons momentum that was transferred to the electron in the process of locating the electron leads to the change in the momentum greatly. So simply we can say that the certainty in the determination of the one property leads to the uncertainty in the determination of other. So it is impossible to know the position and the momentum of the electron on the account of its very small size. The best we can do is to talk about the probability of finding the electron by the use of the probable velocity. So what were the results of uncertainty principle? Uncertainty principle turns out that the Bohr theory is inconsistent with uncertainty principle. A new and more general quantum theory was soon presented that was very consistent with the uncertainty principle, and this theory was applicable to all the atoms and molecules and formed the basis for our understanding of atomic and the molecular structure. This theory was formulated by Austrian physicist Erwin Schrödinger, and we will talk about his theory in our coming lectures.